But it is race week, so today's show is going to be heavily NASCAR-centric. That's not the only thing we're going to talk about, but it's going to be heavily NASCAR-centric. Certainly I intend to go a little longer with Jerry Bonkowski, hopefully 2 segments and such. You know, there's just so much to talk about with the tires and the Busch dominance and the fact there's going to be a new spacer with this. Now, I know that's technical, nitty-gritty. You know, maybe it's not quite as a sexy topic as some others. Okay, I get that. You know what I think is a sexy topic for NASCAR is? Think about this. The cars. That's right, the cars. We're watching cars race, I mean, obviously. But I wrote my monologue today, and the one thing that writers will tell you they want to avoid is a cliche. Don't begin with a cliche. You don't want to begin with a cliche. And I kept trying to figure out how to write this, and I was pacing, and then all of a sudden I realized it was 2 minutes of my show or something. And so if it's not broken, don't fix it. Okay? And I know that seems almost a painful cliche. In fact, it speaks of not having a mindset of thinking to the future, or at least, going for improvements. What do we always say? Change is inevitable. You have to adapt with the times. I agree. I also agree, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. New Coke, Miley Cyrus. I can't stress this enough, okay? I do know there are flaws with the statement. There's nothing inherently wrong with a typewriter. A typewriter is still very functional. It's just word processors are an improvement. But here's the deal. When something successful is changed that works into something that doesn't, it's best the original way is restored. And that's why Miley Cyrus's hair is now back to a longer style reminiscent of Hannah Montana than the pixie cuts from her days as a twerking gargoyle. And I think that NASCAR is now learning that lesson. If it's not broke, don't fix it. It's hard. I mean, you look at the half-filled track. I'll be the optimist here. It's a half-filled track. And you wonder, when did the demise of NASCAR start? I've got my own ideas. I'm not all that jacked up about the playoffs. I think that what it did was it took the NASCAR season and it made 10 races more important than certainly the other, 26. And in addition to that, it basically made the races that count being run during football season, when the casual sports fan, who probably would watch a race over, say, a Sunday baseball game, if for nothing else, for a diversion or something, the Daytona 500 has no problems drawing nice, numbers and all this, and one of the reasons being is that it's the primary sporting event of the day. Now, a early November, NASCAR race, well, none of the NFL is the primary sporting events of the day. You've got that. I think that there have been some cultural changes. I think that when NASCAR has been popular, things like country music is popular. I don't think that there's that much of a I don't think there's that much of a surprise, and I've mentioned this before, that the first Daytona 500 live airing in 1979 on CBS came 3 weeks after the TV show The Dukes of Hazzard premiered. And it was a time when a Barbara Mandrell could have a variety show. It was a time when, like Smokey and the Bandit was just, it was 2 years old at that time, but, the memory was somewhat fresh in the pop culture. It was a time when, country music, Charlie Daniels' career was peaking and all. Marshall Tucker was big. That was, we had a country climate. I do think we had a country climate to a certain extent at the start of the century. I think that helped NASCAR. And if you look at the ebbs and flows of, heartland entertainment, if you will, and I think that, at the end of the last decade, for reasons that may be political, for reasons that may just be the winds of change, that things like country music and all just weren't as popular as they once were. And that may still be the case now. I think another reason, and everybody says this, is the car of tomorrow. 12 years ago, it debuted at the Food City 500, which, of course, is the race in Bristol in 2 days. The car of tomorrow basically took away all the identity from the stock cars. You could no longer tell at a first glance what kind of a car was on the track. And with it, you had the appeal of rooting for a make. I've always said the greatest rivalry in America, it's not necessarily, Ford. What it is Ford versus Chevy. It's not necessarily Red Sox, Yankees, or Notre Dame, Southern California, or Alabama, Auburn. I mean, it's Ford versus Chevy. That was, every boy growing up taught Ford versus Chevy. Unless, they live in Greenwich Village or something. But even there, I'm sure. I've seen car billboards in Manhattan painting an economy car like the General Lee from the Dukes of Hazzard. So, there is an appeal even there. But when you did this, it took totally away win on Sunday, sell on Monday. When you're taking away the identity of the make of the car on the track. Drivers said they needed to learn new strategies because of the car. Ultimately, the change took away much of the appeal from the sport. There was no identity to the cars. The COT, Car of Tomorrow, gave NASCAR parity. Look at the numbers. There weren't dominant drivers. I know Jimmy Johnson won his championships, but still, the number of different drivers winning races, it wasn't sort of like it was last year when you had a big three, is it going to be, what Bush is going to win this week, that sort of thing. Reportedly, cars were more prone to go airborne in the old Car of Tomorrow, and so after it debuted at the good old Food City 500 in 2007, they finally did away with it in 2013. But something has happened this year that hasn't happened in a while. Mustang has given identity to the cars on the track again. The big grille with the pony, the blue oval on the hood, even those distinctive three vertical tail lights on either side on the rear of the car, and they're just for show on a stock car, we can tell what the car is. Like the cars as the sport was growing, the Mustang identifiable. The Mustang has also won 3 of 7 races this year, and it took both of the duels at Daytona, thus paving the way for the pony car in NASCAR that to date Camaro has not been able to achieve. Bristol might be the ultimate proving ground because pony cars have figured out the advantage on the Camry and super speedways on the road courses, but Sunday's race may prove if it has the fortitude for the bull rings. But even if the Camry wins, take note, Toyota and Chevy, for your sales and the success of the sport, the Ford Mustang styling is truly showing the car of tomorrow is actually one from the past. Now, if just baseball could go back to their successful models from when they were the most popular sports in America. Dustin Kearns comes up at the bottom of the hour.